So, what do homesteading, logic, and fashion design all have in common? I'm Nancie, a consultant at Rainbow Resource Center, and today we're diving headfirst into the exciting world of high school electives. Now, if you're looking for broader information on the high school years, check out Gina's video, The High School Journey, by clicking the link below in the description. You will find a roadmap for homeschooling in high school you won't want to miss. For now, grab your notepad and your coffee, and let's get started with electives. Whether you're planning ahead or have a current high schooler, it can feel overwhelming to sift through all the information and find what you really need. Let's simplify the process. First things first, you need to know your state's graduation requirements because they vary. Find out the number of credits needed in your state and if there's a specific elective requirement, such as art, speech, or foreign language. Depending on these factors, students typically take between 1 to 3 electives per year. We recommend checking with Homeschool Legal Defense Association for state-specific information. They're a valuable resource. Now, keep in mind that prospective colleges may have their own requirements as well, a common one being credits in foreign language. Knowing state and college expectations up front helps you plan effectively and avoid surprises later. So what exactly are high school electives and how do they work? The beauty is that they go beyond the required core classes in math, language arts, science, and social studies, allowing students to choose or elect subjects that they want to explore. Classes such as photography, woodworking, or computer programming might spark an interest, develop new skills, or even pave the way for a future career. There's also a value in electives that teach practical life skills, such as budgeting, nutrition, and vehicle maintenance. These help kids succeed in the real world. Elective courses are considered academic and part of a well-rounded education, so they're added to the transcript along with core classes. The best thing about electives, you get to choose. And when it comes to choosing, the sky is the limit, literally. From astronomy and martial arts to home economics and auto repair, electives offer a chance to personalize your education. We're going to look at some specific electives with our consultant team in just a moment. There are two main approaches when fulfilling an elective credit: DIY or ready-made. A DIY option means you design your own curriculum to fit your students' desires and goals. Electives generally include 3 components: learning, doing, and showing. With a DIY option, learning might include reading books, watching instructional videos, or time spent with a mentor. Doing involves applying and practicing what you've learned. Showing often happens through a project, presentation, or test. Kids love showcasing their skills. That shelf they built or pie they baked demonstrates their understanding and mastery of the subject. A ready-made option has done the work for you. There are organized lessons, a suggested schedule, and a predetermined credit value, making it easy to document and a time saver for parents. Electives can be done at home or in a group setting. If they require special equipment or skills, such as carpentry, theater, or music, a homeschool co-op where parents work together might be a good fit. All right, let's talk credits. How does that work? Basically, the time you put into the course determines how much credit you get out of the course. A full credit requires at least 120 documented hours of learning, and a half credit would require 60 hours. Okay, let's do the math. So in a typical 36-week school year, you'd spend an average of 3.5 hours a week earning 1 credit. Now you might be wondering how to document your electives. It's actually simpler than you think. You can use a notebook, lesson planner, or even a spreadsheet to keep track of details that reflect your students' effort and growth. Everyone records a bit differently, but here are some basics. Write a description of the course and any materials used. Include names of mentors or educators that help teach your child. Record specific dates and times spent on the course. Now here's a question that often pops up. What's the difference between an extracurricular activity and an elective? It helps me to remember that the term extra and extracurricular means outside of the curriculum. These activities might include sports, volunteer roles, clubs, and competitions. Extracurriculars are important. They can set you apart for future opportunities. Since they're generally not considered academic, they're not listed on the transcript. Document them separately, noting leadership roles and accomplishments. Now let's join the other consultants here at Rainbow and take a closer look at some electives your student might choose.
Foreign language. This is an area where you want the structure of a ready-made credit. There's an existing expectation of what High School French 1 should include, which is speaking, listening, reading, and writing. While an app can be nice for additional practice, it's not enough for a credit. Parents are not expected to know the language their student is studying, so look for something with a good audio model for your independent learner to follow for listening and speaking. There should be a writing component for grammar and composition as well. Most programs will get you through a school year if you spend 30 to 45 minutes 3 times a week on language instruction. For a student who would benefit from an outside structure, you might pursue a co-op course with a language instructor or an online class with a community college. On a transcript, you'll see French 1, French 2, French 3, French 4, for example.
Music can mean many things, be beneficial in many ways, and make a great elective. There are numerous educational opportunities beyond learning to play an instrument. These can include vocal lessons, participation in bands or choirs, studying music theory, composers or different music genres, cultural music theory, film scoring, or music therapy. Some of the potential electives may have ready-made curriculum available, while others may require a DIY approach. Creating a syllabus beforehand helps to make sure the requirements are clear and well-defined at the beginning of the school year or semester. Once the learning begins, make sure each session is accurately logged for time spent with documentation for content or music practiced, along with composer details to complete a solid credit-worthy course. On a transcript, you could use titles such as instrumental or vocal music, or music 1, 2, 3, or 4. Depending on what your state requires, you could potentially note the area of music studied under each year, such as music theory, music appreciation, early sacred music, or the great composers.
Speech can be a useful elective that produces skills to last an entire lifespan. Speech class will cover the entire process from writing to presenting and can be specialized in a particular style, such as impromptu, persuasive, narrative, informative, or entertainment. This elective would most commonly be a ready-made curriculum, although theatrical performances or other DIY approaches could also apply. This elective can be pursued through different means. Co-op or speech-specific homeschool groups are popular because they provide an audience and the live feedback that is so helpful for improvement. Although at-home curriculum is available and a family audience is also a workable option. There are also broadly recognized groups like Toastmasters or Junior Toastmasters to develop presentation and leadership skills. If using for a high school credit, keep track of hours spent on writing, practicing, and presenting speeches. Remember, 60 hours equals a half a credit and 120 hours a full. On your transcript, you would record this credit as speech.
Home economics, often called family and consumer science, was my favorite elective in high school. I mean, yummy cakes and pies baked from scratch, cute sewing projects, what's not to love? And a home ec elective lends itself nicely to a DIY style. Think about the topics you might learn: nutrition and meal planning, cooking terminology and techniques, child development, home management, even fashion design and textiles. Decide if you want a semester or a full year credit. You might find a good reference book with project ideas to use as a spine for your course. Feel free to personalize, tailoring the content to fit your student and family. If you have a garden, you might focus on canning and food preservation. Interested in sewing or quilting? Check your local fabric store or quilting group for classes. Maybe your student takes a cooking class at co-op and you expand that at home. A final project might be hosting a dinner party that pulls together everything they've learned. Now you can also find ready-made home ec courses on our website. With organized lessons and projects, these are a time saver for parents and allow students to work more independently at home. Use terms like Home Ec 1 and Home Ec 2 on the transcript, or get more specific with skills you've covered. For example, culinary arts or fashion design.
Art. This could be art history, art production, or a combination of the two. You could easily treat art as a DIY elective and focus on your students' interests. This fits the creative personality just fine. A student with an interest in art history might choose a ready-made option instead. Art can be a photography class with a co-op. It could be a focused study on just drawing or just painting. This is an easy area to build a body of work and organize a portfolio. Have your student document hours spent learning and creating. On a transcript, you might be specific or choose to show Art 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Physical education can often be considered part of your core or an elective and has some flexibility for a DIY approach. However, make sure you check with your state regarding their specific requirements for this course. If you have an active student, you will have no problem recording enough hours to receive a credit every year for PE. Simply document the time spent training and performing their normal activity and you're set. However, if you have a less active student, some encouragement will likely be necessary to accumulate those hours. Don't be intimidated. Organized sports are often not necessary. Instead, look for local community or church groups that gather regularly for soccer, volleyball, ultimate frisbee, cycling, or other activities. A lot of times, these groups are very welcoming to unskilled participants and can help encourage them in developing their coordination and skill. Solo activities like walking and hiking are also usable. Record their time, then give them a credit the year they get enough hours. This credit can simply be recorded as physical education.
Logic generally falls into two categories, informal and formal. Informal logic is a necessary first step in development. You'll learn to define the terms you're using as you communicate, learn the various fallacies, or discuss hot topics. In a formal logic course, you'll take a systematic approach to studying reasoning and critical thinking. You'll learn and apply the more technical aspects of creating and evaluating arguments. There'll be a focus on the forms of argument, learning to understand and apply things like propositions, syllogisms, inferences, and formal arguments. You'll learn to evaluate and create logical statements, paragraphs, conclusions, and then full arguments. A course may even go a next step and utilize letter symbols to help analyze arguments, which is a nice prep for geometry and computer programming logic. The overall goal is to analyze others' arguments and then be able to correctly create your own. In most cases, you'll indicate this on a transcript as logic, and the amount of credit you assign will typically be designated by the course that you choose.
Computer science. You may have a student on your hands that loves all things computers and technology and must know how it works. This type of student may seem daunting as you are not as enthusiastic about the digital age. Computer science contains two main veins, computer skills and also the computational systems that allow computers to speak, also known as programming and coding. Computer skills would include things like mechanical understanding of computers, keyboarding, and basic computer processing. Computational systems would include programs like Python, C#, and Java. Log your students' hours as they participate in clubs, formal instruction, and hands-on exploration. Whether these skills are taught in a club, as a DIY, or through a ready-made software and program, this elective can be documented as a computer science credit.
Bible is an important elective to help students create a deep foundation in their faith. Bible study in high school also helps a student develop the interest and discipline to continue studying throughout adulthood. This elective can be achieved in many ways. There are several ready-made curriculum course options that we carry here at Rainbow, such as the Life of Christ, Bible Doctrines, Old and New Testament Survey, Biblical Worldview, and many more to choose from. However, you can also create your own program for a do-it-yourself approach using a study guide, a video, or an online series as the spine. Perhaps you have a Bible study opportunity that your student could participate in and do outside work to fulfill credit requirements. Be sure to keep track of the hours. On a transcript, I would encourage you to be specific and name it according to the course or topic that was covered, or call it Bible 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Agriculture can be studied anywhere, rural area, town, or city. Whether learning about care and choice breeding of livestock, growing any variety of crops, or even trying something like hydroponic gardening, opportunities for agriculture study are everywhere. A student may find interest in learning about greenhouse production, nursery and landscape, architecture, the chemistry or physical interactions of what is in our food, soil fertility and composition, or agribusiness. All of these and more make good content choices for an elective. Ready-made curriculum or a DIY approach with books and hands-on learning can equate to hours of study and field experience. Creating a syllabus prior to starting the course is advisable, and any coursework should be logged in hours and content. On your student's transcript, you could use the titles Agriculture 1 for first year, Agriculture 2 for the second year, and so on. Depending on your state requirements for electives, you could include a more specific title, such as Animal Husbandry, Agricultural Mechanics, Horticulture, Food Science, Crops, Agronomy, Veterinary Science, and Conservation, and so on, whatever specific topic was focused on.
Debate teaches organization, reasoning, logic, and empowers students to speak confidently on a research topic. This is usually done in a co-op setting or through a competitive league, and typically would be a ready-made curriculum. Groups generally debate on topics related to government policy or philosophy. It is not uncommon for a student to become very involved in writing cases and to perform lots of research in preparation for a debate. If your child has accumulated enough hours, you can assign credits for multiple subjects. For example, my son did just that. One year, he received a half credit in debate and a half credit in government. Another year, he received a half credit in writing from research and a half credit in debate. Time can add up quickly in this environment. If your student has plenty of credits, debate can be listed as an extracurricular activity instead of an elective. On your transcript, a debate credit can simply be recorded as debate.
Personal finance. You may know this as consumer math. However, personal finance takes a more individual and focused approach. Personal finance is not a math credit and instead focuses on personal responsibility when it comes to your students' income, spending habits, savings and future planning, emergencies, and avoiding debt. A wonderful foot in the door for further economic studies. There are several ready-made curriculum options available, but there is an opportunity for a DIY approach too. A personal finance course is valuable for any graduate, whether they are heading off to college or entering directly into a career. Usually, personal finance is a one-semester, half-credit elective that becomes a lifelong benefit on a student's transcript. Personal finance complements economics nicely and can be taught alongside each other or in subsequent semesters, typically documented on transcripts as personal finance.
Non-traditional and work experience electives are a great option for homeschool families and can fit nicely on your high school transcript. In our homeschool, we created numerous non-traditional electives that were accepted by each college applied for, including the ROTC program. For example, my daughter's cooperative education credit, sometimes called work experience education, included Red Cross lifeguard training and CPR certifications. We included in her grade the class reviews from her swimming students and her employee evaluations. Non-traditional electives provide a unique opportunity for our teen whose dreams and goals do not fit nicely into available curricula. Here are a few tips to get started. Brainstorm together what they would like to pursue. As a team, research available resources and create a list. Determine if this will be a 1 credit or half credit course. Need a few non-traditional ideas to get started? Along with our cooperative education credit, here are a few courses we created successfully. Leadership skills course that was built upon the U.S. Naval Sea Cadets program, which offered monthly and advanced summer trainings, testing and rank promotions, and color guard events. quarter credit elective in conservation and hunter education gun safety through our state-approved course, and a biblical worldview dual enrollment credit which transitioned into an introduction to philosophy credit at the college level. The beauty of home education is that we can support our team's educational goals with just a little creativity and research. As you plan your non-traditional electives at the high school level, it is important to keep in mind that there is a minimum of 120 hours for 1 credit and 60 hours for the half credit. However, please take time to check your state requirements, as some states have different standards. A helpful resource is the Homeschool Legal Defense Association's high school website. Thank you for joining us today. We are hopeful that you gained insights to plan your high school years and that you feel confident meeting your learners' needs. Please feel free to reach out to our team of curriculum consultants by phone, online chat, or email, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5 p.m. Central Time. Our consultants are available to you at no charge to equip you in your homeschool journey. Thank you.